when we look at the dysfunction in America, and the police didn't just start shooting people in America, and black people were not shot, lynched, whatever you want to call it. It just didn't start happening. It's been happening since we got here. And it's not only a problem with racism, it's a sin problem.
Yeah.
Most of it has been done under the guise of religion and Christianity, or whatever you would have it, you would call it. But Jesus says this. He says that there would be no need to shoot your brothers down in the street, whether you are whether you have affiliated yourself with a so-called gang, or whether you are a police officer, or whether you are just one in the middle of conflict. There is no reason to shoot your brothers and sisters down in the streets, because he has already covered the command in Scripture. Jesus, in chapter 10 of Luke, he goes on to tell the 70 newly ordained disciples how to go about ministry. He tells them that they are to leave and they are to go out into the towns. He says that those who receive you, you receive them. Sit down, eat, fellowship, have a good time with them. But if they reject you, you reject them.
Yeah.
Leave that town, shake the dust off of your sandals, and don't dare to look back.
Yeah.
And I tell you what's going to happen to those who reject your teaching and your preaching about me and the kingdom of God, that the kingdom of heaven will come down and inflict its mighty wrath on them.
Yeah.
Jesus says that it will be better for Sodom and Gomorrah in their day than it will be for those cities and those nations and those lands who reject the teachings of Christ. And in the midst of this conversation that he's having with his disciples, a lawyer asks him, tempting him, "What must I do to be saved?"
Yeah.
Jesus, recognizing the setup, answers him only like Jesus can.
Yes.
Jesus, perceiving that he's a lawyer, says to him, "Well, what's the most important command in the law? What does the law say?" The lawyer says, "Well, love thy God. Love that thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy strength, with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself." And Matthew 22 says that all of the law of the prophets hang on these two commandments. Jesus says that if you and I can manage to love God with all of our hearts, that means that everything that your whole being is about the love of God. It's because you love God. With all of your soul. All that you feel is because you love God. With all of your strength, all that you do because you love God. It says you got it half right. And then if you can love in all of your mind, all that you think because you love God, and God, you want to please God. And it says now you got it half right. And if you can love your neighbor as yourself. If you can treat your neighbor as yourself, you got it all right. If you can do the part with God and then turn around and do the part with your neighbor, you got it all right. See, you don't shoot your neighbor down in the street. You don't mistreat your neighbor. You don't turn your back on your neighbor. You don't have you care about the well-being of your neighbor. You treat your neighbor as yourself. You love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
Then you got it right. Well, the lawyer, and I can just, if you'll allow me to go into my spiritual mind, I can imagine him peering over his glasses to tempt Jesus once again, like Judge Judy, asking him, well, who is your neighbor?
Well.
And I can imagine Jesus peering back through eternity, through divinity, and answering in this way. Jesus said that there are three types of people on this planet. Jesus said that there are three types of people on this planet. The first type of person that he goes to describe is the man or the person with the calloused heart. It says in verse number 30 through 31, it says, and Jesus answering said, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiment and wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. Verse number 31, and by chance there came a certain priest that way. And when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. The thieves that Jesus is describing here is the devil, Satan, and how he sends life your way. Life circumstances has left this man down and in the ditch. Wounded.
Yes.
Clothes ripped up. Penniless. Without anything to get up out of that ditch with. Unable to get up out of the ditch under his own accord. And the priest sees him and goes on to the other side.
Yes.
Passes him by without a care. And Jesus says that that describes one of the types of people who are on this earth. There are people who don't care that you're in a ditch. And in fact, he's talking to the church.
Yes.
When he's talking to this group, he's talking about the church.
All right.
When he's talking to this group, he's saying that there are people in the church, the priest, the religious leader, the one who teaches about God, can see a man in the ditch and not care. Well, church, I don't know who I'm talking to on today, but how many of us know someone who's struggling with addiction? And just walk by and leave.
Yeah.
The Bible tells the older women to teach the younger women
Yeah.
how to love and how to raise a family.
Yeah.
How many of you know a young woman or a young family who are struggling to keep their heads above water? All they need is a little correction, a little wisdom, and a little guidance.
Yeah.
But you just keep on walking by on the other side.
All right.
Your hearts have become so callous, Jesus is saying,
Yeah.
that suffering doesn't bother. How many in law enforcement or in positions of authority can see a man in trouble, who needs help. They're there to protect and serve. But instead of protecting and serving, they'd rather shoot him down and go on a paid vacation.
Yeah.
Jesus says that there are 3 types of hearts in this world: the calloused heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that he picks the church to describe the 2 hearts with the defect, because he goes on and talks about not only a callous heart, but a conditional heart. He says that in verse number 32, likewise a Levite. In other scriptures it says this Levite was on his way to the temple to pray.
Yeah.
And when he was at the place, he came, looked on, and passed by on the other side.
Yeah.
The Levite came and looked at the man. I'm sure he wanted to see who the man was. See, because the Levite couldn't touch him.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he made himself ceremonially unclean, he couldn't go to the temple to pray.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Help me. Is it worth my time to help? What if he can't do anything for me?
Uh-huh.
I've lost a whole day. I've wasted money. I've touched somebody. I've helped somebody who can't help me, or can't do. I'm sure had it been the high priest who was in the ditch,
Yeah.
I'm sure if Caesar had been in the ditch,
Uh-huh.
I'm sure if one of the Sadducees or Pharisees or one of the rulers had been in the ditch, the Levite would have surely helped them.
Uh-huh.
Church, isn't that how we are?
Well.
We know of people who need our help. People who we can invite to church, or we can go spend time sharing the word with. But it's not worth our time, we don't think, because they can't do anything for us.
All right.
This is why people are shot down in the streets. You know something very interesting that you don't really hear a lot of? People in small towns are rarely shot down by the police.
Uh-huh.
That's because they normally have some sort of connection to the police. The police normally know them, and they know the police.
Yes.
Normally, that it's a conditional circumstance. I'll help you because I know you. There are some of you who cannot get a ticket in Uvalda, Georgia, because the police know you.
All right.
There are some of you who cannot get a ticket in Vidalia, Georgia, because the police know you. There are some of you who will not let another person who you know go hungry. But watch a person who you barely know go hungry.
Yes. Yes.
It's all conditional, and Jesus is saying that these sort of hearts are defective, and even though you got the right part first, where you love God with all of your heart and all of your soul and all of your strength and all of your mind, you missed out
Come on now.
on the second part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your hearts are calloused and your hearts are conditional, but it says, thank God there's another heart that roams the earth.
Come on now. Come on.
It says that there's a charitable heart.
Yeah.
And it says that, but a certain Samaritan, verse number 33, as he journeyed, came where he was.
Yeah.
When he saw him, he had compassion on him,
Yeah.
and went to him and bound up his wound.
Yes.
poured in oil and wine, and set him on his own beast, and brought him to an end, and took care of him. In verse number 35, and on the morrow, when he departed, he took out 2 pence, and gave them to the host, and said unto him, take care of him. Whatsoever thou spendest more, when I come, I'll repay thee.
Yeah.
Verse number 36, now which of these 3 thinkest thou was a neighbor unto him that fell among the thieves?
Yes.
In verse number 37, the lawyer answered, and he said, he that showed mercy on him. And Jesus said unto him, go and do thou likewise.
Yes.
Very interesting that Jesus used the Samaritan,
Yes.
because the Samaritan was looked down upon at that time. The Samaritan was the outcast in society.
Yes.
The Samaritan was a woman who had the baby out of wedlock.
Yes.
The Samaritan was the drug dealer. The Samaritan was the one who ran around with everyone else's husband or everyone else's wife.
Yes.
The Samaritan was the one from the gay and lesbian community.
Yeah.
The Samaritan was the one who was a town drunk. But isn't it interesting that Jesus used the Samaritan as the one who had a heart that was better than the heart of the 2 people who had been in church all their lives?
Yeah.
Church,
Come on now.
you better get it right and get like the Samaritan.
Yeah.
Because Jesus says that you better love God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul.
Yeah.
Jesus says that you better love your neighbor like yourself. You can't let a Samaritan do more than you, because there'll be one day when you'll stand in front of that great throne.
Yeah.
And Jesus will ask, well, how did you treat your brother? How can you say you love me, one who you never saw, but you say that you hate your brother? You better get like the Samaritan church. As I told you, there was a slave ship at the bottom of the Smithsonian Museum.
Yeah.
One day, over in Africa, a few hundred years ago, there were men and women who were snatched up, put on a ship, put in shackles. Their names were lost, and they were brought to the shores of America, where they were never more free.
Yeah.
They were whipped, they were beaten, they were mistreated. They had all of their humanity stripped from them for the name, all in the name of profit.
Yeah.
But I thank God that God, who had gone to Calvary's cross, who was stripped, who was beaten, who was taken in shackles, who hung, bled, and died, and rose again so that we could all be free, the descendants of the people who came over on that slave ship now live free in America. But we thank God even more for the freedom that we do, that the old people tell me that one day when I leave here, there's another ship. They tell me that the name of this ship is the old ship of Zion. And they said that I remember the old people said that I was sinking far from a peaceful shore. And I was sinking to rise no more. But when I call the name of Jesus, He picked my feet up out of the miry clay. He turned my life around. He placed my feet on solid ground. And the Bible tells me that when that old ship of Zion comes to take me away, that old ship of Zion has going to take me over to the peaceful shores of heaven. And that my name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life. And I thank God that even in the midst of all I thank God
Thank you.
that He gives me a peace that surpasses all understanding.
All of us.
Our people are leaving here.
Yes.
It used to be, you know, if you drank or used drugs or you lived a lifestyle out in the streets, that you would be shot down or you would end your life early. But now it seems as your car breaks down,
Yes.
or you're sitting out in front of a school reading, waiting on your child to come.
Yes.
You can die that way too.
Yes.
It's important that we go out and we do the evangelistic work that we are called to do.
Amen.
We go out and we spread the gospel because people are leaving here. People are dying. But then it's important that we not only do it for our brothers and sisters, we have to do it for our brothers and sisters who don't look like us.
Yes.
Because they do make up the police departments who are shooting people who look like us. They are the judges and they are the mayors and the city council leaders and so on and so forth who affect our lives. They are the presidential candidates. We have to spread this word to everybody.
Yes.
We have to just let God do what He does once the word is received. But church, you have to realize that if you are not a part, if you don't have the charitable heart, if you don't have a sincere desire to see people made whole, to see people's lives lived not only have life, but they have life that is in the abundance that Christ has promised them. You see people not live in peace. You see people struggling. You don't have a desire to help them, then you are a part of the problem.
Amen.
You are a part of the problem. So Christ has commanded us, you know, don't just go back to nice air-conditioned homes and full freezers and cable TVs and nice cars. There's work for us. There's work for us. There's work for us to do. So as we open the doors of the church, we're going to ask that you examine where you are. Where are you with Christ on this morning? Is Christ speaking to your heart? The worst type of callous heart that you can have is a heart that not only sees the suffering of a brother, but to hear the call of Christ on it. Not come. So as the church stands, it sings to you. The doors of God's church are open.